Welcome back to another episode of Survive the Culture Podcast. I'm your host DJ, and you know what, we're gonna do things a little bit different today. Today's special guest really don't need an introduction. She has done it all from acting in high school, acting in college. She's been on various tours. She recently just got off a tour not too long ago, upon graduating from college in May 2019. She is just someone that you would love to be around, someone you would love to work with. Anybody who's out there that's watching this and gets a chance to work with her, I promise you, it will be worth it. I'm glad she was able to join me on this episode because it's just one of those episodes where you look back and you're like, wow, this is an accomplishment for me. Because believe it or not, it's hard to get things like this to happen, where two like-minded people just come together and make history. So, Brissae, I thank you for being a part of this episode. Let's get to it. So, what we'll be talking about is how exactly was it for you, in your childhood? How would you describe it?
Well, my childhood was full of music, was full of, I wouldn't say like performing constantly, but my family's all about sharing stories of their childhood. And so I remember growing up, we would have Sundays where we would cook for the whole neighborhood. We would have music on, everybody would come and like everybody would have fun. The kids were playing. I was always playing with like my cousins and stuff. So yeah, like those were the good times of my childhood. So we would like congregate, get together, and just like be around the community and everybody else's kids and just like have fun and just sing and dance and act around, fool around, just act funny all the time.
I would say out of all of those things that you mentioned, do you have something that you enjoyed most, I guess, as a kid?
Definitely the days that we had to clean the house, only because, and this may sound so crazy because what kind of kid wants to clean the house, but those were the days that we would play music in the house while we were cleaning, and it was just so fun because you could just make a mess out of everything, but as long as you turned up that music and you're just walking around and helping your parents and stuff, it was like me and my mom, like we had a time there. Like it's something that I will never forget and something that I will continue to do as I have my own kids one day.
Have you traveled anywhere out of the country?
Yes, I have. So I have gone to a couple places actually. I went to Roatan, Honduras, which is like a little island off of Honduras. I've been to Cancun, Mexico. I've been to Dominican Republic. I've been to Cuba. I've been to Puerto Rico. Yeah. So I've been able to travel a little bit here and there. Yeah, those are a few of the islands that I've been able to visit.
Out of all of those places that you've been to, do you have a favorite place? Like, just it could be out of any of them.
Out of the country?
Yeah, like any place out of the country it was like, wow, the experience just was, I guess, better than you expected.
I would say Roatan, honestly, because, well, personally, nobody really knows a lot about Roatan. They're like, where is that? And personally, my friends kept asking, like, how do you get there? And it's a tiny, tiny island off of Honduras. So you have to take like a plane onto the island, and you have to take water taxis everywhere. So it's a taxi in the ocean. So in order to get to one side of the island, you have to take a water taxi, which was super cool. The culture there is super cool. And just like their culture is different. It's like a little bit of like Afro-Cuban, like Afro-Latino, Afro-Latinx culture. There's a lot of music, there's a lot of food, and the island is pretty tiny. So it looks like, or it feels like everybody knows each other. And it's very safe. So it was pretty cool.
Transitioning a little into, as we can start talking about acting. So what I'm very curious about, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this, is, I guess, how did you get involved in acting to begin with?
Man. So I started, well, everybody that I know from before, they always ask me that question. And I honestly started in high school. I didn't start when I was like a little girl, like a child actor, like most people. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just saying, like, I started my sophomore year of high school. I had performed previously, but in different platforms. Like I was a cheerleader for many years. I did talent shows and stuff like that, but I never really acted unless I was like in the living room on a Sunday with my family. They had Cuban cafe or empanadas, and I'm here telling a story, trying to make everybody laugh. But besides that, I was never really on a stage. So sophomore year, I quit cheerleading and I was at the AEA, which was the Advanced Enrichment Academy in Union City. And then I transferred over to Union City High School once my classes changed. And I heard of the musical You're in Town. And I was like, you know what do I have to lose? Like, I like to sing. Like, let me just try out and see where it takes me. So I tried out. I made the cut. I did not know what I was doing. You know, all I was given, excuse me, was a piece of paper and some lines. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Like, I don't care if I look silly. I always look silly in front of my family and it works. People laugh. So that's what I did. And then it was on from there. Like, I just kept auditioning for the musicals. I couldn't do the plays because I was in a bunch of activities at school, but I did all the musicals in Union City High School, and it was such a fun experience. And from there, I grew in love with it, and I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I went to college for it too, so it was really cool.
Who was your favorite actor? Like, who did you idolize as an actor? Like, who do you idolize?
I don't really idolize, I would say, but I do appreciate a lot of actors. In particular, um, I would say Viola Davis is on there a lot. She's a very strong um, woman. She's a great actor. She's played multiple different roles. So she has a lot of different roles and she has great technique to her. And there's something about her that's very vulnerable in every role that she has. So that's definitely someone that I've looked up to in the process of acting. And I don't know, there's something about her that once you see her on the screen, you can't miss her. Like from the moment she speaks, she has this huge presence and your eyes just like directly go to her in every film, every TV show. Like it's absolutely crazy. It's stunning work. It's amazing. So
I know you had mentioned it before about, starting in high school. Do you feel like when you initially wanted to act, do you feel like, I guess, friends had any influence on it, or was it more of like you said, I really had nothing to lose?
in high school,
Yeah, in high school.
um I never really I was never really a follower in high school. It was more like, I'm gonna do it. I didn't really know anybody in the program again because I went to the smaller school in Union City. So it was like, if you go to the AEA, you're there for STEM, and there's not really like arts program. I mean, not at the time, not at the time. And so when you went to the Union City High School, for me being like a freshman, sophomore, I was like, oh my gosh, this school is so huge. I mean, there's like 3,000 students. It's like there's so many clubs and activities. I don't know what to do. So I didn't really know anybody at the time to be like, okay, I'm going to follow my friend and audition for this. I just went for it. I heard it through an announcement at the AEA, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this. Like I'm not doing anything recently, like in the time being, so I'm just gonna go for it. And if I get it, I get it, and if I don't, then I'll join something else or try next time. That was my mindset to it. I never really had to follow anybody. If I wanted to get something done or if I wanted to be a part of something, I would just try out for it.
All the roles that you have played in the past, which one was your favorite?
Ah, okay. This is very exciting. So, out of all the roles I've played, I would say that my last show in college was very exciting. Next to the tour that I booked after college, but like the last role, I played a girl named Katia Libertad Cordova, and it was like Wakanda, but for Afro Latinos, in a futuristic Latin world. So it was both in Spanish to play and in English, and it was very cool to kind of talk about colorism within the Latin community and how that affects a lot. And there was like, I played basically like an activist and a revolutionist, and it was really cool because that's something that I'm passionate about. So it was great to kind of get into that role hands-on and kind of like implement change through that work. So the play was actually called Daughters of the Rebellion, and it was really cool, the whole process, from the research to the costumes to the stage to the people watching it and the comments after. It was great.
I know, like, as actors, we all, well, I'm not gonna say we, because I haven't really, I'm nowhere near, having the type of talent that you have. But from
Oh no.
the little bit of acting that I did do, you know, what I realized is I've seen so many, like, I guess, mistakes that I made early on. So what I would ask you is, were there any mistakes that you made early on that you were like, okay, this is something I could learn from, and how did you, I guess, overcome it?
As actors, you make mistakes all the time. I'm just gonna say it. Like, we may look like we got our stuff together, but it's the sense of trusting the work you've done, and which was really hard for me because I'm like a perfectionist. I like for things to be 100% okay and like just like better, like the best of the best. And I had to let go of that idea because sometimes things don't go as you rehearse them. Sometimes somebody forgets their line on stage, right? Or sometimes people just miss their cue. And what are you supposed to do? It's not you like you can't be like cut, let's go back. Like, you can't do that. So you just have to go with the flow, and you gotta like just trust the work you've done. And so yeah, like I said, that was one of my like particular issues. Another was just like being 100% vulnerable, because we could say like, yeah, I'm being silly on the stage, I'm being this, I'm being that, but when you're playing a role where, for example, as Katia, in one of the scenes, she gets thrown in jail and she gets raped by the guard. Like, when you're playing something like that severe, you have to, there's consent in everything and anything in acting, but you have to really like get into that place. You can't just do it on cue. Like, you can't just be like, all right, cry now. It's like there's work that's done to get to that place, and the work you do like builds up to the fact that, wow, like this is realistic. That's when somebody can sit back and be like, wow, I can relate to this because this is realistic. So it's no longer like me being sad, but like me as the character, Brissae, bringing the character to life and telling this person's story, if that makes sense. So yeah, and a lot of people mistaken that too. They're like, no, but I'm playing the role, this is me doing it. Yes, it is you, it is a part of you, and you're sharing your experiences to kind of connect and bridge that connection to this character. But at the end of the day, you're telling a story that needs to be told, written by somebody else's experiences, if that makes sense.
Do you have any potential or like, I say confidence in going into a lead role?
If I'm auditioning for a lead role, I'm going to come in prepared. I'm not I'm not one to be like, I'm not gonna look at the script. I'm just gonna wing it. I mean, even in high school, when I auditioned for the musical, I came prepared. I researched the musical. Even though I didn't know I had to do that, I still researched it because I wanted to know more about the play, so that if they asked me a question about a character, I wouldn't be stuck and be like, well, I don't know why this character did what they did. You always have to come prepared, because that's something that in the real world they look for. They'll ask you questions on the spot, and you can't just be like, well, I'm auditioning for Hamilton the musical because I want to, and I have no idea what I'm auditioning for. It's like going into an interview. You can't just go into an interview, right? Like a real job. I mean, I wouldn't say real job, because acting it's a real job. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, for anything else in life, you go in, you're not going to go in not knowing about the company, right? Or you're not going to go in not knowing about the person you want to network with. So you gotta know your stuff at the end of the day, and you gotta go in with decisions, choices, and you gotta be bendable at the same time. So if they ask you to do something that you didn't necessarily have prepared, you can do it.
What do you feel are your strong points, as an actor?
My strong points. Well, everybody says I am a businesswoman. So I'm always on top of what I'm getting done. Like, I'm always on top of my work. I hand in things before deadlines. I'm just like, what's next? What's next? I would say that's one of my strongest suits. Another one is that I'm like very reliable, I would say. Like, if you tell me, I guess that goes along with getting there on time and getting things done on time. But if you tell me you need help with something, or I'm your scene partner, for example, I will always be there, because I don't know, like, I just make time for things that I care about. And I guess I've been told that I'm a cool scene partner. Like, I'm always funny, or if something, or if we don't understand something, then we go back into the play and we just talk about it. Like, I like talking about things that I don't understand myself, or my scene partner may not understand. And I like to ask questions, and I am a huge note taker, so that I can refer back to my notes and kind of like journal too about the progress that I've made in the scene, or what's going on in terms of like theater and all that stuff, and as an actor myself.
What was your biggest achievement?
Well, so far, because I'm 22 years of age, I'm very young. I feel like I still have a long way to go. The biggest achievement so far was graduating and booking a tour right away. I didn't know it was gonna happen. That's another thing about the entertainment industry. That's another thing about the entertainment industry, is that you go on like various auditions. You don't know what you're going to book, right? You just keep going until you get that phone call and they're like, hey, we want you. We want to work with you. So far, that was a huge achievement, to just pick up and go, because I had just graduated in May 2019. And then I got that call around June. And I was just like, yeah, like, I'm down. Like, I'm going to travel the States, and I'm going to do the show 100+ times, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be an experience. And it was all those things. So it was really cool to just jump onto the next project right after graduating.
With acting, you've worked with, I'm sure, different directors, right?
Of course.
Have a favorite director, or just a director who, I guess, like, was really impactful in your life?
Do I have to say favorite?
Nah, it don't have to be favorite. It could just be someone who had an impact on your life. It don't have to be favorite.
I definitely have top two. I'm not going to mention names, but one of them was definitely in high school, and the other was in college. So high school, again, was like the kernel of it all. That's where I started. And in high school, when I didn't have, the talent per se, or like the knowledge of acting, this person saw something in me that I couldn't see, which was the potential to become like a great actor. And that really pushed me to be even better than what they thought I would become. And in college, there was another director who like really got through to me, and just said, like, listen, like, you could achieve it all. You're a woman, you're an Afro-Latina, like, you have it all. Like, you are a go-getter, you can do this, like, keep going. And sometimes we need those reminders, because this could get very hard. Acting is like very, very hard. Again, like, the industry, it could push you down, but sometimes we need those little reminders, from people, to tell us, like, hey, like, nah, you got this, like, keep going. So that was really helpful from the beginning to the next transition of college to now, even out of college. So that's helped me get a long way.
Do you think that you have matured as an actor?
Compared to high school, yes. Compared to college, probably not, because it's very recent. We're in 2020. I graduated in 2019. So I would say I still have a lot of work to do. Your work as an actor never stops. Even when you're Cicely Tyson, like, right? Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why.
You had it. You had it.
Yeah, like your work as an actor never stops. I mean, you are your craft. You keep learning, you keep adapting, like things change. For example, right now we're in a pandemic, and so people are doing readings virtually. Like that's totally new for people who are so used to being on stage. So you just never stop learning. You just keep perfecting your craft. So I don't think there's a necessary like, oh, that's it, like they're the best of the best. I feel like even the best still take classes for whatever they need to get more work done in that particular area, whether it's like dialect, whether it's, you know, TV, film, whatever the case may be. Everybody prepares for a particular role and they have a coach or somebody to help them.
In acting, I know there's such thing as like finding agents and all of that type of stuff. I don't know if that's happened to you or, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but have you ever like went through that as far as like searching for an agent? And, you know, if so, like, I guess, what do you look for in an agent?
So I did have an agency, currently finishing with them this year. The way I found my agency was through Showcase. It's a program that they do in college when you go to a conservatory program, like a BFA program. And I did the Showcase, and that's how the touring company that I went on tour with, they found me through that Showcase as well as other agencies. So you're technically like literally performing in front of a crowd. You're doing one monologue and one scene with your scene partner of choice. And people like agents from New York, LA, Atlanta, they just sit down and they watch your work. And if they like you, they're like, okay, we're going to give you an appointment, right? And so, you know, you accept the appointment, you go to the appointment, and before you go to the appointment, you do your research again. And I mean, you talk to them. You talk to them about what you're about, what roles you're looking into exploring, what's your type in terms of what type can I play right now. People tell me I have like a young face, so I could probably play from 16 to like 21, even though I'm 22. You know, like what TV shows do you see yourself in? And at the same time, you're also interviewing them, right? Because you want to work with someone who can get you into rooms, right? You want to work with someone who has their best interest for you. So at the same time, you're asking them like questions or concerns that you may have, like, where do you see us working, like in like a month or two? Like, what do you see in me? Like, how are we going to work together to, you know, achieve the goals that I want to do and what you want to do? And you just come in with questions about the company or questions about how your future is going to look with them. And that's about it. And when you don't have an agent, you just put yourself out there, but you have to be careful at the same time, because there's a lot of people who like to scam. And you know, if they ask you for money, that's not a real agency, because at the end of the day, they want to look for you, they want to sign you, and they want to pay you, because you guys work with each other. So they get you into the room, but then you have to do the rest of the work of, you know, getting your lines together, doing what you have to do, like research work. But that's a lot of things that tends to be like a big factor for people who don't go to school necessarily for acting and want to start acting, because you don't have to go to school for it. But that's a big factor that plays in, like, how do I find an agent? How do I do this? How do I do that? First of all, hands down, like I said, you don't pay anybody. They have to pay you, and when you meet them, you meet them at a public place or you meet them at the agency. You never meet them in like a shady, like, oh, meet me at the hotel or like the room, or like never, ever, ever. I've never had an appointment like that, always at a public place or at the agency.
So what I've noticed is like for, let's say, for younger girls, right, who want to get into acting, I guess
Mm-hmm.
what would be some advice you would tell them? Because I've seen different people who, I guess they're really like shy people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they let, I guess, fear get to them that, I guess, holds them back from potential opportunities. So like, what would you say to that young girl who's looking up to you? Like, wow, I want to grow up and be like you. When I grow up. So what is, I guess, some advice you would give to her?
Just do it. Like, like,
Hmm.
I get scared too. Like right before I'm about to go on stage, you get those like jitters and you're like, all right, I'm about to do the show. I'm about to go out there. And your fear is because you care, right? You care about doing the good job. You care about doing the best you can on that stage, right? You care, and a little bit goes on to I'm afraid that I'm going to mess up or anything like that. But like I said earlier, you need to trust the work you put in. If you don't do the work, of course, you're going to be so scared, right? But you really have to just start. You can start by taking classes. You can start by doing like improv classes virtually now. Um, and like you can ask people that are in the field, like me. I mean, I'm never afraid to answer any questions, or like my friends who are also actors. But I would tell that little girl, like, just do it. Just have fun too. Like if you can stand in the middle of a room, as I did as a little girl, and talk to your family about nonsense that doesn't mean anything, but have them laugh, like you're already starting somewhere. Like if you can talk amongst people, or you could talk to your friends the way you describe a story and you are all laughing, then you're already starting, because acting is telling other people's stories. Of course there's structure in it, but at the end of the day, you're trying to tell this story, the story of someone else or your story. So I would say, again, just go for it with the proper classes and the training too. Or if you don't want to train, and just take a few workshops and stuff, you'll get out of that shell of fear, and just, even if you do this for a hobby, you'll get out that shell of fear, because there's a lot of people that feel like that. And sometimes we may feel like I'm the only person that feels this way. It's like, no. I know people who have been in shows, so many shows, and they still get like jitters or butterflies right before they're about to go on stage. So yeah.
What I've loved recently is women are starting to get a lot more of the leading roles, at least from the shows and movies that I watch. And I really want that to, become
Mhm.
something that's happening all the time. You know, what my question for you would be is, what is your opinion on? I'm sure you'll have a positive opinion on it, but in your words, what's your opinion on, I guess, women getting leading roles, and not even just women, like women of color as well? So what's your stance on that?
I mean, hands down, I think it's so, so important for women of color, like people of color, to, book the roles, to book the lead. Because, I mean, again, like growing up, I mean, y'all would know, like growing up, you wouldn't see
Yeah, for
a
real.
woman of color on TV as the lead, right? And now that things have changed a bit, we're slowly seeing Viola Davis, we're slowly seeing like more women. I mean, Angela Bassett,
Mm,
beautiful work. We see women of color not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera as directors, directing these stories of women of color. So I think is very, 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 very important for women to, be on TV screens, to be in theaters and stuff like that. Like we need more Felicia Rashads. We need more Angela Bassett's. We need more Viola Davises. We need more. We need more, 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 more. No matter what shade, we need more. And at the same time, I feel like it's very, very important that we forget the women that are behind the camera, who like do these crazy, like they do crazy work behind the camera. I mean, look at Ava DuVernay. Like
mm,
when they see us, come on now, come on now.
for real.
I mean, directed by a woman, and many of her other films, amazing. You know, we need more female Spike Lees too. Like we just need more females
Well,
overall, because the way that women direct big films is just different, and you can tell. I'm just like amazed. I'm out of words, because it's just so necessary. It's refreshing to know that a group of women came together. Not only did they direct the play, but they did the costumes, they built the set, they, you know, they work all around. And sometimes, like, we don't really appreciate that, or we don't really say thank you so much.
with that, I feel like it's so much that we could really appreciate just the fact that, because if you think about it, a few years ago everything really was a competition. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't want to work with you because I'm trying to be better than you, or I have this opportunity, but if you do better than me, then it's kind of like, wow, why'd I give you that opportunity? So
Yeah.
just the fact that they're working together, it
Mhm.
really makes me happy.
Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah, what you're saying is true. I mean, the acting industry is very, very tiny. If that's something I learned, everybody knows everybody. But it's about, you know, brown and black coming together and making
mhm,
something great. Like there shouldn't be any division, right? There should be more people, not just light-skinned people on TV, but actually like dark and light come together and just like make something incredible. I mean, look at Issa Rae and Insecure. It's an
yes,
HBO series, right?
yes,
It's
yes,
incredible. And we need more Issa Raes. We need people to write content and just put it out there and work together. So I'm talking about like Afro Latinas, and African American women or Caribbean women to just come together and tell stories that are very prevalent and important, especially for our youth who are constantly watching, right?
hmm
So and constantly look up to these people as like, oh, if she's on TV, then I'm seeing myself on TV, then I could do it too, or I could be anything else, whether it is like, I don't know, a woman of color playing a doctor on TV, then that little girl who's watching would be like inspired and be like, well, I could be a doctor too, right? Because sometimes that's how it used to be. We used to watch people, women on TV, and be like, oh, she's a nurse, you know, and I really like the work she does, right? We're looking at the character as kids. We're like, I can do that too then. If she can do it, I can do it. So I think that's very important. Definitely, hands down.
I agree. I feel like even like with continuing that, like if you think about like TV shows back in the day, right? At least for me
Uh-huh.
when I was a kid, most of the shows were mainly just Caucasian people. If I'm being honest, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it's, and not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel
Of
like
course
there
not.
needs to be a variety. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to see somebody that I can relate to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like someone that I could go home and be like, all right, I can be like that person. Not
Yeah.
just like, oh, okay, let me watch the show just because I like it. So in saying that, I hope that in the future we get more roles for just people like us in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Because
against the stereotypes too, I would say,
that, there you
because
go. That's exactly what,
yeah,
exactly.
because I mean, it used to be like Latinos and African Americans, oh, they have to play the drug dealer. They have to
Yes.
do
Yeah. Oh
this.
my God. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Hello,
Now
can you
you
see
good.
me?
You good. Yeah, we can.
Um, so yeah, she has to play the stripper or she has to play the crackhead. And yeah, they're all stereotypes like, oh, she plays a crazy angry black woman or the crazy angry Latin woman. Like they have to be dumb or whatever. But what I'm seeing now is that women of color, men of color are playing roles like, oh, he's the lawyer, oh, he's the doctor, he's a teacher, he's the one that's like implementing change. That's what I'm seeing now more of. And I'm not saying that the stereotypes, like, yes, like there's a lot of content that's like very wrong. They're always going to be there, the stereotypes, right? Because we have a lot of movies that we watched as kids that made us laugh, and they were stereotypes. I mean, I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say, put that out there. But at the same time, like right now, we're in a moment in society that movies are kind of talking about more about what's happening in the world. And I think that's very important too. Like, how can we put African American woman or man, or Latinx man or woman in roles that can you know, push kids to say, hey, I can be more than just a stereotype. You know, I could be more than my circumstances. I could be more than the violence that happens in inner cities and stuff like that, or my surroundings in general. And I could be somebody, if that makes sense. Like, how are we telling these stories to affect change within our communities, you know? And to kind of bring people together, because there's so much separation, and the entertainment industry doesn't make it any easier because of the choices that are made and stuff like that. But slowly and surely, I pray that, you know, we have more integration in terms of, you know, women working together, men working together, and creating these roles that kids can look up to and be like, you know, forget my circumstances, forget that, you know, because I came from the ghetto too. Forget that I came from the ghetto, whatever. These are my roots. These are my people, yes. But I can be more than just my circumstance, you know. So I have a story to tell.
You on point with that. Listen, I think this topic in particular, we could go on.
It could go on and on, for real, for real.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, especially like with the current events, it's kind of like so important to really have something to just watch. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much. I feel like there's so much negative outside, and it's kind of like now. I guess now is the perfect time to really, you know, give these jobs to people of color. You know, and I don't know when it's going to change. I hope it's sooner rather
Yeah.
than later. But you know, it's just it's taking it a step at a time. You know what I mean? Like we can't expect to just wake up and everything's gonna be like, all right, yeah, you get the same. And you know what? Oh my God, what I forgot to mention is the pay. Like, when are we going to get to a point where they're getting like women are getting paid the same as the men? Like, I don't, if they're doing the same type of job and they're doing just as good, some of them do even better. There's no
Yeah.
reason why there should be such a pay gap. You know, like,
Yeah.
and like I said, I could go on and on because I'm so passionate about this
Of
topic.
course.
But it's like, where do we start? Like that's
Yeah.
my biggest question is, like, where do we start? Where do we, you know, it's just been going on for so long. It's kind of like, you know, just where do we start? That's my biggest question because there's so much that needs to be fixed. But in closing, what are just about you? What are some things that I guess maybe we haven't discussed that you would want people to know about you?
I guess that I'm here to not only tell other people's stories, but one day tell my story and how I was raised and how I overcame things, and just like there's so much that I still want to learn and stuff. But I guess talk about like my culture and my stories and where I come from, because I'm very proud of where I'm from. I'm very proud of my roots. And I think that there are so many stories, historical stories, that can become movies. For example, like just like where I came from, like my ancestors and how they got to the Caribbean and stuff like that. And I think that not a lot of kids that look like me or that come from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba know about their history in a PG-13 way for little kids. But um, yeah, I'm very for my people. I'm very for brown and black people working together and coming up with amazing, crazy ideas that will blow people's minds. Um, and I'm very forward with, you know, women having the opportunity to work more and get equal pay, like you said, because I mean, there are so many amazing actors who, you know, are so humble, and sometimes they don't care about the pay. They're like, I want to do this because I want to, and this is something that has to be heard. But I mean, that's not right and that's not fair. So I hope that beyond 2020 and what's happening right now, that we move towards women getting what they actually deserve when they do the work, when they get it done. So, and that they're not scared to speak up for what's right and what's just, because
Exactly.
so many people are scared, you know. I hope that we can create a sisterhood where now we're going to stand with you and we're going to fight with you, excuse me, to get what you deserve. Justice, you know, in terms of equal pay or in terms of representation, and knocking down stereotypes.
You was on point with everything today. Where,
Thanks. It's just that I believe in. So
listen,
yeah,
I
there it
appreciate
is.
that. Where can people contact you if they want to?
My Instagram page, definitely. I answer right away. Well, when I see it. So that's Brissae, B as in boy, Rissae, Valdez, Valdes. And definitely on my website, which is my first and last name.com. If you shoot me an email through my website, I will see it right away and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Well, now I have a lot of time because we're all at home, working from home. But definitely social media or my website.
Hey, Brissae, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, guys. This is really cool.
Yeah, definitely,
Thank you.
definitely. I appreciate everything, man. Like just the fact that you would come on here and share your story. Just this whole conversation was one of my favorites. So I personally,
Really?
yeah, because it's
Stop. You probably tell everybody that. No.
well, you'll see the episodes. I don't tell everyone.
Joshua, am I right? Am I right?
No. Listen, I
Come on
don't tell
now.
everyone that. I'm telling you because I enjoy when people have passion with what they talk about. Because anyone could sit up here and have conversation, but if there's no
Yeah.
passion, it kind of feels like a dead topic, basically. So the fact that you brought passion and you really cared about the topics that we were talking about, hey, I really appreciate it, and I thank you, and I hope everyone's safe over there. And
Thank you. You too. You both and your families and everybody. I mean,
I
this is
appreciate
crazy,
it.
but what you guys are doing, this podcast is very important. It's just an addition to what has to be done and how like younger people, even older people can like tune in and look into it and just see what's going on, and just tune in and see what's going on with local artists or even like big artists who are out there and still working from home and stuff like that. So
See, and that goes with the name Survive the Culture Podcast. A lot of it goes over people's head. I'm telling you, it's gonna start catching on.
it's lit. It's
Yes,
dope.
it's
It's
I'm
dope.
telling you, it's gonna start. But in
Yeah.
closing, man, I really appreciate it, and I hope everything goes as planned. I hope the future is great for you and for everybody else. We will holler at you. All right.
All right. Peace out.
All
Bye.
right. Have a good one.